Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and welcome to the Gems of War Invasions, week 29, day 7. So, today, we are going to be messing around with all the new spoilers that are coming for next week. Then probably just messing around with getting Hierophant a little bit leveled. But yeah, we ended up finishing out Faction. If you haven't done that yet, definitely make sure to go and do so. If you're doing like 500 pure faction or whatever you're doing with it, maybe we'll do the last few battles too. I generally don't, just because they're rather tedious, but we could if we wanted to, just for a few more points there. But you still have some time on it. What's the timer on it? 5 hours and 28 minutes as of this exact moment in time. Covered a video on it earlier, going over some teams. Would have been out a bit earlier, but had some other things I needed to get done today. Finally got my new bank card, which I wanted to wait till after taxes, and taxes are all sorted, so that's good now. And I was able to write off quite a bit with the receipts, so I will be keeping the receipts, every single one that I could possibly have that I could possibly write off. I'm still not sure of the full scope of what I can or can't, but I went to one of those special places things that you kind of just sorted it all out for me. So I kind of just like dumped like all of them here. It's like, here, whatever you could take off, and ended up working out pretty well because quite a bit actually did get taken off. Was it mid-sentence? Weird. It could be because I'm just starting a little bit too early if I'm talking. If it's actually doing that for the video itself. But if it's just doing it on your side and not for everyone, it could just be that it's just a lag at a stream startup. But I don't know. I'll look into that more later. If it's a uniform thing, like at the start of stream, then that's a issue that would need to get resolved. But anyways, let's go over spoilers. We have quite a few things happening next week. A lot of mech-related stuff. First thing, and probably the most noteworthy thing, is the Glory Troop, oddly enough. The troop is not horrible. Oh. It was mid-sentence for you too? Interesting. Okay. So that might be an issue. It's showing a yellow bar right now too, for when the stream started, and now it went green. So I wonder if that had an issue with it. It doesn't always do that, but I have noticed it's been doing that occasionally. Like, it starts with a yellow bar, which basically means, like, it's not fully, going out. Well, I actually don't know exactly what the yellow means, but it's not perfect connection. But then it went to green after like 2 minutes into the stream. That was weird. But I'll look into that more, because if that's a reoccurring issue, I definitely need to do something to tweak the settings so it doesn't do that. But anyways, this is the new Glory Troop that's coming out tomorrow. It's going to be for 400 Glory, so really easy to obtain. And this thing is insanely noteworthy if you do not own many Mythics, because this is going to be the cheapest instant kill troop that is actually viable in the entire game. It has deals some true damage to an enemy, which is a pretty minuscule, useless amount. However, its main part of its ability that is noteworthy is there's a 10% chance to kill them, boosted by their armor. His boost ratio is a 1 to 5. If we go into here, it's a 0.2, which means 1 to 5. He has a 1 to 5 boost ratio for killing things. So that basically means if something has 450 armor, this troop will one-shot it. It will die in one shot if it has that high of armor. If it has something like 200 armor, that's what, a 50% chance. And so on and so forth. Every 50 armor is basically another 10% chance, with every 5 being 1 whole percent chance increase for it to be able to get an instant kill. So this thing's going to be rather interesting, as it is only 13 mana cost. It's only an epic, so relatively low rarity compared to Legend or Mythic. And it's going to be the most viable instant kill option for early to mid game, possibly even the earlier part of late game, if you don't have some of the Mythics that can do it. It won't replace these options out, obviously, like Iron Gut's still going to be better, Zugof's still going to be better, stuff like that. However, if you've been needing a cheaper alternative, this thing will be it, and you get it real easily next week for only 400 glory. So highly advise getting this thing, and possibly even just getting it max, because you'll get some red-greens all along the way. You get 2 red-green arcanes every single time you buy the pack for 400, so they're basically 200 each. So if you've been needing to stock up on that, worth considering. Also, it's good to trait this thing up. It does gain 20% agile and 25% score reduction, so a little bit of a tank. Not excessively tanky, not the tankiest thing in the game, but it's at least has some amount of tankability against skulls. But overall, looks like a really promising troop. I probably won't be using it much, because obviously if you have the better options, you would just use the better options. But there's a lot of team building I'll probably need to mention for the event week video, because, yeah, it's going to be pretty relevant for it, to say the least. Anyways, next thing. The weapon. We have a Doom event next week. This weapon is useless. It's one of the scatter weapons that creates some normal skulls, not the Doom skulls. These aren't really worth it. I believe this is the last one, if I'm not mistaken, of these 6. I forget if this was the last one or second to last one. But I believe at this point we almost have all of them, or we do have all of them. So hopefully we start seeing some different Doom weapons that aren't horrifically bad at this point. But we'll kind of have to wait and see. Other than that, this Wednesday we are getting, or this Tuesday, we're going to be having Amethyrax faction. So if you've been wanting to go do Amethyrax, it's actually one of them that can be done pretty easily, even with minimal potions, because you have truffles. And triple truffle, quad truffle can tear through the pure faction pretty easily if you haven't already done it. So if you're looking for kind of like a little bit towards the easier range of faction, yeah, you'll have one on Tuesday if you're wanting to get that done. You could even do it possibly without potions. Not through the event, but, you know, just normally. So that's something else to consider. This Wednesday, we're getting a mech pet. This pet will actually have a bonus. It looks like this. Never mind, it didn't bring it up correctly. Wait, can I just open this in a new tab and it works correctly? I can. There we go, nice. But yeah, we're getting this guy. Actually looks quite interesting, how they have it and everything. I like how his hat is actually completely mechanical as well. But, little top hat thing. But yeah, this thing's actually not useless. It'll have a mech bonus. And that mech bonus, of course, whenever you use 3 or 4 mechs on your team, will give you a bonus. That is almost never going to be applicable unless you're using mech in this hero class. However, it is a thing, and it's better than being completely cosmetic. And we'll have that this Wednesday. Thursday, we'll have a class event for, I assume, mech. Given that's a mech week. Yes, it is. Thursday's mech. And then Friday, we have Bounty Hunter. And with Bounty Hunter, we get this troop right over here. We're getting this rat, the Mecha Rat. As far as what it does, it removes all brown gems and then gains 2 gold for each gem removed. So if you remove something like 10, you get 20 gold. And there's a chance to there is a chance equal to your gold to summon a Mech Rat. So I assume it means the total gold that you have when it says that, equal to my gold when it says that, not the amount that you actually gain. So if that is the case, if you have 100 gold, this thing would have a 100% chance of summoning a Mech Rat. That's a little bit of a weird mechanic, because it basically allows you to have an infinite tank off of this ability. You're almost never going to really be casting it then, because the only thing this does is just give you some gold, and, well, I guess you can remove all brown, but you don't even gain the mana for it, so I guess you can do a little bit of brown counter, I guess, but, I don't know, you're almost never going to be casting this thing, because the only thing it's really good for is summoning more of itself. And, I don't know, this doesn't really seem that viable. It does have 25% score reduction at least, so it's kind of good. Mostly because you'd be able to use that for tanking in first slot, since you're most likely just going to put him there anyways, assuming he doesn't really block anything too important. But yeah, overall, pretty underwhelming bounty troop that will basically come and go and never be used again. Like many bounty troops, so some of them have been pretty good recently, like the turtle that we ended up getting last time around. But this one, definitely not the case. It's going to be completely dead content pretty much as soon as it ends up coming out. However, it is, I believe, the only... I believe this is the only bounty troop currently that can summon another troop. However, that isn't really that useful in the context of bounty, because it's more important that you win quickly rather than necessarily resummoning to make sure you have more tanks. But yeah, the Gris Turtle is an insanely good tank. It has 50% score reduction, and already has a pretty decent durability to begin with. And this thing definitely will not be better than it, that is for sure. But I don't know, it's a really weird troop, probably pretty useless, but you gotta use it this next bounty. So, rather unfortunate, but another troop for Adana nonetheless. Adana really needs a rework. I also wish they would add a different trait that isn't sturdy, that only mechs have. They did that for a couple other things to make them better. They did it for elves, and elves went from being useless to actually having some meta teams with Orb Weaver, which ended up happening about last year or so. So they made elves go from 100% useless typing to pretty good by adding those traits, those unique mana immune traits. And, well, they got some other immunities like web and stuff on a couple of them. But they became instantly better when they did that. Dwarves, for the longest time, were one of the worst types in the game. And then they added that thing that had like a billion different immunities, and then some of them actually became good. And I feel like mech needs the same thing. Not only do a lot of mechs need rework, because a lot of them are relatively dated as far as what they do mechanically, but they need some kind of unique trait so that they can actually stand out a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what combination of immunities you would have, or what kind of unique trait that you would really give to all mechs, but I don't know, something. They did it for multiple other types, and I feel like mechs could really use it, just giving it to every mech in the game. They did it for undead too, but the undead one actually made some undead worse, not better. The undead one was pretty underwhelming, and they're still underwhelming. And yeah, that's pretty much everything going on this week. We got Bounty Hunters Friday, new pet this Wednesday, and a pretty interesting troop coming in on Monday. And Amethyrax is on Tuesday, and Adana is on Thursday. I mean, mech class is on Thursday. Also, I said that in such a weird order. But that's everything. There's the pet. But that's it. So that's all the things. Also, 4.8 beta did start. Once we know more info on it, I will mention it. We might know it a little bit more when Salty mentions something tomorrow night, possibly. Also, we should hopefully have more codes by then, because I only have 2 codes left. One for tonight and one for tomorrow. Otherwise, we're out of codes, other than some big codes. But we gave out a big code when we did Pure Faction earlier, which we do have completed now. I believe I mentioned that earlier to stream, but of course we have completed out the Pure Faction. We did that at the end of yesterday's morning stream, the longer one. But yeah, we ended up getting that done and good to go. But yeah, ended up getting that done. We got our +1 magic even, and we got that from 44,000 renown. And pretty much I'll have all factions done in about 5, 6, 7 weeks. Whenever Sea of Sorrows comes back around, I will be able to go do that, and that will be every faction in the game completed. And then we don't really need to worry about ever doing a Tuesday faction event again. Well, you know, we still need to do the free amount just to get some loot, but we would never need to do it to, you know, 500, which would be nice because that means our gem stack can finally start replenishing. And I'm pretty sure they'll be adding some things later this year that might end up using those. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. No, I actually have no clue if they will. I just always assume there will be. That's why you hoard gems in to begin with. It is the premium currency of the game, so it's a matter of time before they add more things that end up using them. But yeah, we need to replenish. We're under 20,000. By tomorrow, we'll easily have over 20,000 again, but still, it took a little bit of a hit recently. But then again, we're going to need to throw, like, what, 500 for Tower of Doom? So actually, that's going to eat at it a little bit, because we're only going to get 390 on Monday. A tribute will bring it back up, not to mention dailies, which I haven't really bothered touching much yet today. Speaking of that, let me go do that. I have a bunch of incorrect team sets, so let me go and get a, where's my team list? I should probably start saving more teams, but let me go get my Explore 3 team. Oh yeah, isn't this saved with the wrong team? I don't think I changed it from being saved with the wrong one. What do I overwrite? Let's go overwrite this one. Actually, you know what? I kind of want to hold on to that one for now. I might use it for, I know, I probably wouldn't use it for Amethyrax. You can't even use it because it doesn't have the right coloration. But anyways, let me paste this in. Let me reorder this so it's actually at top and rename it so it's not Iron Gut. Those were all the teams for the video earlier. Let's see. Rename this to Explore 3. Even though I use it for things other than Explore 3, but that's its main purpose. And yeah, it's still set to Barbarian. I did not want that. I want it set to Hierophant. There we go. Alright, let's go get some EXP for this thing. A level day gets every hero class leveled eventually. Already at 4 million dumping gold on the faction horde. Yes, getting a 200 faction can cost around 4 to 5 million. It's pretty expensive. Well, so that reminds me, I didn't even say hello to everyone earlier. How could I have not done that? We were like 12 minutes into the stream, and I have not said hello directly to anyone. Hello, RBXTube. Hello, Isabel. Hello, Original. Hello, William. Hello, hello, Jefferson. Hello, Birdleaf. Hello, Lochnar. Most of this I already read earlier, but I didn't say hello. Hello, Calathos. Hello. Let's see. Yeah, you're lucky that you don't have to do taxes in the UK. I ended up getting that done earlier. The taxes, and I got my new bank card. And it has one of those chip things. My previous bank card didn't even have one of those chips because it was so old. I got it back in college. That's how old it is. But then again, I wasn't in college that far back. Was it 3, 4 years ago? I'm starting to lose track of time. All time after college just like kind of mushes together. Because like when you're in school, you can kind of use like every single year as like pointers to things. But when you don't have like a consistent main thing that's happening every single year, I don't know, it kind of just mushes together a little bit more. Let's see. Hello, Zex. Welcome. Trying to read through everything. Oh, wow. You stayed up to 4 a.m. trying to get that delve done? Yeah, it's a really annoying delve. It is the most luck-based delve in the entire game, and it's definitely among the hardest 3. I would say it's arguably the hardest, though depending on if you get lucky or not, your perspective of it might be slightly different. But no, I personally consider it the hardest, mostly because it's completely RNG-based. At least the other hard ones aren't necessarily that luck-based. They're just, well, they can be somewhat, but they're a lot less. Like, Werewolves is one that is really annoying, that is somewhat luck-based, but at least you know somewhat what their ability is going to do. Like, it could transform, but at least you know what it's going to do, for the most part. Whereas in this faction, there's just so many things that can happen. You have to deal with 10% instant kill chance. You have to deal with every single thing having 3 abilities, except for the troll, which you don't really even use because it's pretty underwhelming with the other troops. And it's basically just constant random everything. And just hoping that it works. Yeah, Pure Faction is just double the Mana Core, 1 Panda, 1 Chaos Hound. I personally put the Chaos Hound in front of the Panda, though. Hello, Foro. Hello, Dizen. Do the Aussies love RNG or something? I'm not sure. Well, I need to ask the developers next Q&A. Which I'm not even sure when they're doing the next Q&A. They'll definitely do it before 5.0. I don't think they're doing one before 4.8. It's not like excessively big to the point where I think they would, but you never know, they might. It is a bigger patch. It's just not like a gigantic patch. I was actually expecting it to have a little bit more than what it did. I still haven't gotten to play it yet, but I've read over the patch notes, of which I can't share, unfortunately. Let's see. Yeah, I still do need to go to the dentist. I need to do that at some point. Haven't been for a couple years since I haven't had insurance. Let's see. Hello, Stradium's cat. Hello, Steve. Hello, Starlight. Hello, Impudence. Hello, Bernice. Oh, it was mid-sentence. Yeah, I'll need to double check at the beginning of the stream, or after stream, I mean, to see if I can do anything with the stream to make it so it doesn't lag like that. That, or I just need to start waiting more time when we start a stream, like maybe like a few seconds. It might be an awkward silence at first, but at least it wouldn't cut off anything. Let's see. I wonder if the actual recording of it's doing that too. I forgot to check it the other day. I need to do that for sure today. Sir, hello, Sir Teddy. Hello, Impudence. Hello, Brian. I didn't even check the video I literally just uploaded either. Just because it was right before the stream. I'm pretty sure it works though. Let's see. Hello, Foro. And hello, Mobarashi, and hello, everyone else. There we go. We got through all the hellos. We must say hello every time. Yeah, Adana can finally reach 10 plus stars. I believe that gives an additional armor. If I'm not mistaken. Oh no, coronavirus has hit Australia. That's not good. Yeah, I haven't been following much with the virus. Yeah, hopefully that virus doesn't spread too much more. Just kind of have to wait and see. I think at this point, pretty much every country is taking precaution to it to some capacity. Is Adana event next week? Yes, Adana is next event. So you'll be able to get Tina off of keys, Tina 9000, and Tesla. They are the only two relevant thing that will be off of event keys. However, they are relatively relevant. Tesla is a great option to have in early game, and because of how it upscales. It's basically like a true damage Rowan, except she's a legend rather than epic rarity and a little bit harder to obtain, but she'll be really easy to obtain next week. Other than that, the other option is if you can randomly get the Mythic. Not only would that allow you to 10-star Adana, possibly, if you have enough of the other upgrades, but Tina 9000 is a pretty decent troop. I don't use it too much in the current state of the game. However, at this exact moment in time, it is the best 50% spell reduction troop in the game, Tina 9000. That obviously will likely change into the future, but as it currently stands, Tina 9000 is pretty much the strongest 50% spell reduction troop in most situations. Or situationally it's not, but like 90% of situations, if you're looking for a 50% spell reduction troop, like a really high spell reduction, you end up using Tina 9000. Because it has an armor gain, which synergizes with it, as well as a really decent damage output. It doesn't have board control, but that's one of the main things it's lacking. And it generally is considered better than the really tanky one that has 50% spell reduction, mostly because he doesn't have damage. Whereas Tina can basically one-shot. In PvP situations, like Guild Wars and PvP, Tina 9000 can just randomly get a free kill when you cast it, which is pretty nice, while also doing damage to something else. It deals a lot of true damage in that if it double taps the same enemy with one of its 3 random hits, which it can do, it can even triple tap a single enemy, but normally double is enough to kill it, unless it gets really bad numbers, or it has spell reduction. If you have every troop from Adana, should you use keys to try to get Mythic Tesla? It wouldn't hurt. Having 2 Tinas isn't necessarily a bad thing either if you accidentally get a drop of it. I don't run it for anything now, but I have in the past a little bit. I used to run it for Warrens here and there, just because you can half mana start it with Mech and use it kind of like Ketris. It doesn't upscale like Ketris, but you can use it kind of like how you use Ketris the Bull with Shaman to give it half mana start. You can do the same thing with Tina 9000 with Mechs, with the Mech in this hero class. and give a half mana start and then quickly cast 2 Tinas and basically win the battle. Any battle that you can win in double Tina cast wins relatively quickly if you end up using it with mech and everything. It's not really advised going out of your way for it, but if you happen to randomly pick it up, it is somewhat okay to have a second one. Though you really only need one. But yeah, if you want to get Tesla max, I guess. Tesla doesn't gain much of a benefit from being max though. Most of the benefit comes from just having one copy. Not even having her traded really does much of a benefit either. Also, I didn't clear this filter yet, did I? Let me clear filter and save it. Still had it like that for the video. But anyways, so that's that. Let's go clear out. So finish all those. Let's go clear out dungeons and then mess with probably leveling up the hero class. And it's Diamond Day, so definitely make sure to go do the dungeons. Which also reminds me every single time I will go down here. I still haven't covered that video. Just haven't had time. Really need to soon. Soon, TM. I feel like every single day, like something pops up. It's like, oh gosh, and just keeps delaying everything. Let's see. But at least taxes are finally done, so that's out of the way, and I don't need to worry about that till next year. Still haven't used the new bank card yet, mostly because I almost never use the bank card. And luckily, it is the same number, which was something I was worried about. But I did get the exact same bank number. So that's really nice, because now I don't need to worry about changing everything over. Because my biggest concern with another card was a change in number. But they were able to do it to the exact same number, which is nice. Is that normal? I guess that is normal. I'm not even sure. Do cards normally change number when it's still from the exact same place when you get a new one? But I'm glad that it doesn't, because there are so many things I would have to trade over if it was to change. Because I have a lot of automatic payments going to the card. Why did I cast that? That's not what I wanted. I wanted Tina to win. I mean, not Tina, the Phoenicia. Okay, so take that, grab that, boom. There we go. Always worth throwing those 50 gems down on that. And grab our tribute. Replenish some of those gems we just spent. And there we go. Also, this flash offer is still going on. It's never worth it, though. They do this basically every single faction event. Actually, I think they do it literally every faction event. But it is not worth it. I don't know why they always keep doing it. But apparently people are buying it if they keep doing it every single time. The Volkey one is worth it. This one, not so much. It's really expensive. All you're getting is 100 Chaos Shards and a Sacred Treasure. Or I assume a Sacred Treasure. It's not even showing a Sacred Treasure over here. Though it says it onto the left side. But that is really not worth it at all. Like, if that was... I don't know how low it would have to be. If it was $2, like a Vault Key, I'd probably say it was worth it. But even for 5, I would even be hesitant on it. One Sacred Treasure isn't really that much, because you have to look at it in how much gold it saves you. One Sacred Treasure saves you probably about 1,000,000 gold, I want to say, roughly. And 1,000,000 gold's only worth about 20 gems. And 20 gems is worth, based on their own numbers in the game, less than $1. So they really overvalue how much a Sacred Treasure is worth. But, yeah, I definitely do not consider it worth it. Even at $2, that exact pack, with obviously the $2 amount of gems, which would be 100. But even if it was 100 gems, 100 shards, and a Sacred Treasure for $2, I'm not even sure if that is worth it, to be honest. But, yeah, don't bother with it. I'm not sure why. But apparently some amount of people buy it. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it every single time. But anyways. Next order of business. Let's go get this thing leveled some. Let me go change back to armor, which I'm currently not on, because we were using that for faction. I guess we could even go do more of the faction if we really wanted to. It would just be for shards, though. And at this point, we have such a surplus of shards. We're currently sitting on 18,736 shards, and that's after just maxing a faction. And we still have another month until we get another faction, since obviously we quite literally still have the current faction now. Yet we still have such an excess of shards. And the main reason we have so much excess shards is because I did so many pure factions. And with all those pure factions, we just got buried in shards. Spare shards. Anyways, let's go level this thing. Get at least a level. We'll hand out a code when we get a level. And probably aim for getting 2 levels this stream. 2 levels a day gets every single hero class maxed eventually. Slow process, but better doing it like this than to just grind it out for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours on end. Which is a strategy for it. I just prefer not to do that method. Let's see. Hello, Ping Mike. What's your home kingdom? And why did I pick it? Whitehelm. Whitehelm should always be your home kingdom if you're looking for overall resource value. The main reason for this is there's 3 tributes. Gold, glory, and souls. Relative to how much of each kingdom ends up giving, relative to that resource. The one that has the highest amount of gem value is glory. relative to how much it gives. And the one that gives the highest amount of glory is White Helm. And since the only thing that Home Kingdom really affects is how much the doubling of the tribute for that specific kingdom, it is best to go White Helm because White Helm has the most profitable tribute in the game. So if you're looking for overall value, you end up doing White Helm Home Kingdom. The only other thing that Home Kingdom changes is on your profile. The background of your profile is based on whatever kingdom you're in. And the special effect is different for some kingdoms. So if you have White Helm, it has like a light effect with the White Helm background. Other ones have different ones. Like you can even see one of them behind me, which I was going to go change every single event week, but I haven't even changed it a single time. I still have it at Mr. Scales from when we had Mr. Scales event a while back. But of course, every single kingdom has its own unique little background thing. Let's see. It took you way too many attempts to do Pure Faction. How many? Over a dozen? I heard someone it took them 15, I think they said yesterday. I'm really curious what the highest amount of attempts are for doing it. So good evening, James. Welcome. Let's see. How do you tell how many potions you bought? The easiest way to tell how many potions you've bought is to go to the event. Go to the event. Go to any battle that you can actually go to. So let's just go to this one. Click fights. And click on any troop, and then wait until it goes to Potion of Power. And right here, you can see how many potions of power you have. Divide whatever number that says by 7, and that is how many you have. So if we divide that by 7, we can see that it goes in 8 times, which means we bought the last pack 8 times. It costs 1,110 gems to get to 6, and then every single 7th is 200. So with that, we know we bought the 201 8 times. So we can deduce from that we ended up getting 1,600 worth of potions and powers, which we did 8 times, and which it cost us 2,710 gems total. And that's how you end up finding out what the total is. And it tells you right there. I believe that's the only location where you can find it. And you have to do a little bit of reverse math to figure it, but it's pretty easy. Just divide it by 7. The almighty calculator. Let's see. I'll take that over. Get our splodies. And give us our level. Also, we'll have a new pet to put on our shoulder on Wednesday. Right now, I'm using the pet from the most recent faction, of course. Which is theoretically, I guess, the rarest pet in the game. Whenever a new faction comes out, for like the week after, theoretically, the rarest pet at any given time is the one after that. Though, I guess overall rarest pet, there's actually a few that are overall rarest pet. The $50 mech pet, the $50 Android pet, or the $50 Xbox pet are all excessively rare, just because they cost $50 unless they are ever go on a sale. I don't think the Android one ever has. I'm not sure about the Xbox one. The Steam one was as cheap as $5 at one point, I believe, during winter this year. It was either $5 or $10. Other than that, the other rarest is for having max renown. If you have, or not max renown, sorry, max, though I wish they did do one for high renown, that would be pretty cool. But I mean, a high, what's it called? A high, honor. Once you have honor maxed, which is that thing on your profile, you end up getting a unique pet. It's fully cosmetic, but you get like a dragon kitty thing, a unique dragon kitty thing. And it is probably the most unobtained pet in the game, or among one of them. If you don't count the money-only pets, I believe it's the rarest pet in the game. Just because to do it, you have to get max honor. And very, very few people have that. I think the number is under a few thousand, maybe even less than that. You can tell anyone in Global who has it by if they have a gold border around their thing. However, most people in Global Chat are there a lot, so that's why they have a gold border. If you're in Global Chat a lot, it's a lot easier to get up. But even if it was just like here, we can only see we have like about 6 different people. This is a bad example because as soon as I go in chat, almost the entirety of chat or people, like anyone who's really active generally does have it in chat. But it is rather rare. Also, Kafka, she's one of the devs. You can tell by the border too that that's actually one of the developers. If we go here, we can see it as well. Developer. Yeah, Kafka's in chat. Not sure what she's talking about. She's one of the developers of the game. I forget what she does, but she does something. Yeah, the only pet I'm missing in the entire game is the $50 Android pet. I'm waiting till it goes on a sale, if ever. Because I'm not spending $50 for it. We can go without owning every pet in the game. Last week you were able to buy 1 Medal of Nisha. Obviously pay to win. How do you feel about this? Well, it costs $50. I feel like most people don't go for it. Also, all Nishas beyond 3 Nishas don't really help you much. Like once you have 3 Nishas, you don't really get much of a benefit beyond that point. Well, and I didn't really consider it that pay to win personally. Just because a single Nisha, I don't know, wouldn't really help you too much, like a Nisha medal. You'll notice like we very, very rarely use the magic +4, +8, +12. There are instances where you use it, of course, but there are a lot of teams that don't actually end up needing it. Like as long as you have the 20% mana start and you have all the other ones, you're pretty much set. Obviously, you do eventually want to get 3 Nisha medals, but just to have them around. But they're not that big of a necessity. And as far as upgrading them to get mythics, you need so many of them that buying one isn't necessarily that pay to win. Is because if you're going to go and use that to go and upgrade a mythic, you're gaining barely any stats. Like you put that into your their first elite level to get it to bronze, you're getting like 2 stats onto a mythic or something. It is really small. Well, and I don't really consider it that pay to win. And I also feel like most people don't go for it because that's rather expensive for a single Nisha. But some people probably do just because of the amount of time it takes to farm an Nisha. Let's see. We'll grab that for now. But yeah, most of the purchases that they have in this game, with a few exceptions like Death Knight armor, are pretty much just things that you can end up farming just naturally throughout the game. And while it might save time, Gems of War is pretty fair, I would say, overall, compared to most mobile games anyways, with how well you can farm everything. Because unlike many mobile games, particularly as of recently, they don't really cap the rate at which you can gain any resource. Like, you can infinitely farm gold all you want per day, farm gems as much as you want per day. Like, there's very few resources that are capped like that. They did add a few, but some of them are, like, really good, like seals. Like, seals were capped, but you end up getting a... They're worth a lot, which is why they end up doing it. And a few other things were capped, like deeds as of recently they end up capping. And the main thing that ended up doing as of recently is actually made it more enticing to do epic tasks with how they reworked it. But very few things are actually capped within the game as far as the rate at which you can get them. Hey, that reminds me. Since we didn't get it this week, in about 5 hours from now, for people who have done every single purple deed that has ever existed, not counting buying them, if you've done every single epic green task and every single epic purple task, you should have enough deeds by Monday to get your second purple kingdom, which means a +1 magic bonus tomorrow. But as soon as reset sets and your guild does enough gold for it, anyone who's been going free to play but has been doing full completion, you'll be able to have enough to get a second magic kingdom tomorrow. And you already had that magic kingdom if you bought any of the purple deeds at any point. But anyone who didn't buy them will be able to get it tomorrow, assuming you've done every possible instance of accumulating them since they've been released. And deeds are still rather new. Deeds aren't even a year old. I think they came in, what? I want to say August last year? I should forget around what time. Hey, level! I did say once we get our first level, we'd hand out code. And that is our first level. So let's go find our code. Where's my code hiding? There's the patch notes for the patch. There's the codes. That's what I'm looking for. What code were we up to? I believe it was a few down from here, but I still want to check this just to make sure I didn't accidentally skip over any. Oops, it would help if I actually paste the code. I'm like trying to use it without even putting it in. That's a fail. Okay, so this one I used yesterday, but I still want to double check. Yep, that one I used yesterday. Okay, I mean, these should be the last 2 codes. These 2 should both work. This one we hand out right now, and the other one we hand out tomorrow night. And hopefully Salty will give me more tomorrow night. I have enough till Monday And if she doesn't give it to me on Monday night, I will run out of codes, which would not be good. Okay, here you guys go. Here's the redeem code. Use on gemsofwar.com for the game code section, or simply click that link. Your invite code can be found underneath your settings menu. Whatever your game says, right over here in the bottom left corner is what you put in. Redeem code's right over there in chat. Just copy paste the random numbers and letters. And it gives the same reward as always: 2 treasure maps, 1 gem key, 200 souls, and 2,500 gold. And it only works on PC mobile version. There you guys go. And yeah, hoard those gem keys. New Mythic coming out in soon. It's the first Friday of every month. So actually, never mind. It's actually going to be a while. I forgot because this year is a leap year. So we actually have 29 days in this month. So Friday is not until the 6th of, until the 6th. So we actually have 2 Fridays from now. Until we get a Mythic. This Friday we're getting Bounty Hunter, of course. But anyways. I believe we're 3 Fridays from a Vault event. But let's go try getting another level. Let's start making some more progress on it. We're currently on 83. Which means we only need 17 more levels until this hero class is not useless. And I kind of want to have it maxed for Guild Wars in case we want to run this for a Guild War day. Just to kind of test it. I kind of want to see if we can actually get away with it in Guild Wars with a burn-related team. I'm not sure what day we'd run it on, but I might attempt it. We'll see. If I have it to 100 by then, I'm going to consider it. And I think we should. Guild Wars is 14 days from now, 2 weeks. So if we do a level a day, we're pretty much going to be maxed. That would bring us to level 97. And obviously most days we would be doing 2 levels, not 1 level. And possibly even more than 2 levels. So that thing should be maxed by Guild Wars. So if we want to mess with it on Guild Wars just to see how it does, we could, if we wanted to. Not sure if we will, but we'll consider it. I definitely want to get it maxed in case we do decide to. I still want to mess around with things on it, though. Because that is a hero class that gains a rather unique benefit once fully maxed. Because it has cleanse into triple damage. It is the only hero class in the game that has cleanse into triple damage on Skull. And I feel like it might be one of the hero classes that a lot of people are underlooking. Mostly because most people don't want to bother maxing it out. Because on paper it's a rather bad hero class if you look at most of its factors. But once it's finally at 100, it might actually be viable. The internet says Infernus is top 5, that is correct. But High King Iron Gut is all I hear about on streams anymore, that is also correct. Both of those are true simultaneously. They're both a top 5 mythic. Both Infernus and Iron Gut should be within your top 5 first crafts. The order you go in basically depends on what you want to prioritize. Infernus is great for PvP, and you can also overlap it for earlier game Guild Wars, as well as into mid-game and possibly even early part of late-game Guild Wars. There's also a few burn synergies he has because he has the best burn in the game. The most noteworthy one is with hero classes that do triple damage on burning. So, for example, once we max Hierophant. But any hero class that has triple damage on burning, it has pretty good synergy with that. There's also a few troops that specifically use it, like Grim and such. However, they're not as meta these days, but still a great mechanic. It's also basically 12 damage per turn. But yeah, both High King Iron Gut and Infernus are within top 5. The main ones within top 5 are Infernus, which is PvP, and I should probably make a new video on that, though I think my most recent video did mention these 5. Not actually sure, but I might have only mentioned 4 per rarity. But anyways, the best 5 right now don't really have a priority order because there's so many different parts in the game that you basically do it based on what game mode you want to do. But as far as the best 5 mythics to craft, it's Infernus if you want to have better PvP and early mid-game and earlier part of late-game Guild Wars. There's High King Iron Gut, which is exclusively used pretty much for Delves. However, it does have some overlap in other locations, but it's mostly for Delves and Tower of Doom, but particularly Delves. There is Wild Queen. Wild Queen is used for PvP and Guild Wars, but it upscales all the way to late game and covers different colors than that of Infernus. Then there is, so that's 3. Then there's Fair Shra. Fair Shra is used exclusively for soul farming. However, it can do one-shots in some situations, like PvP-like situations. And then for fifth, I'm not sure if I really have a definitive fifth. Because there's a lot of utility troops that are pretty good out there. I'm trying to think of which one I might use the most, as far as which one I might mention as 5th. There's a lot of great utilities, though. I'm actually not sure what I would say for a 5th, honestly, in the current state of the game. I feel like a new Mythic will come in the next few months that would probably say, oh yeah, that's the new 5th. But, right now I'm not really sure. What game mode did we not really cover then at that point? I guess maybe a Ketris the Bull for Tower of Doom, because that's more Tower of Doom focused specifically. The Possessed King. Possessed King is pretty good. Most of his synergies require other high rarity troops though. So I'm not sure if I would necessarily say he's a top 5. He's definitely a top 10 craft. I'm not sure if he'd be a top 5 craft. Because very few teams use Possessed King that don't use other mythics. Like, very few teams use Possessed King as the only mythic on the team. He's great with other mythics. He's just not really that much of a standalone. Well, I guess actually that's not true. There is one mythic team where he's the only mythic. Wrath, when he's used with Wrath. Like, if he's used with Wrath, Skyla, a Doom Weapon, and actually the exact order is Wrath, a Doom Weapon, Skyla, and Possessed King. That's probably the biggest team that he's used with, that he's the only mythic. But a good majority of his team synergies require another mythic to really be used. Like, very, very few of them is he the only one. Because he's not good for damage. He's a mythic that's used solely for mana accumulation and for board clear. Whereas normally you pick up mythics because you need a damage source. Particularly earlier on in the game, because you have a billion different board controls if you are earlier on in the game, because a lot of the lower rarity is board control. But you don't have any excessively good damage sources, so I don't really advise getting Possessed King too early, just because he is not a damage source, he's a mana accumulator, and you have way more than enough mana accumulators when you're earlier on in the game, because almost every lower rarity troop does that to some capacity. Most of the better mana generators that are actually good are lower levels too. But you don't have good damage sources in early game. Very, very few troops have really high damage output as a lower rarity. Most of the best damage sources, generally speaking, are under Legends and Mythics, particularly Mythics. There are a few exceptions here and there, like Rowan, but generally speaking, almost all damage sources are Legend and Mythic. So you generally want to focus the damage sources first when you're doing your crafting, as you already have enough mana accumulation methods, but you don't have enough damage source methods when you're first starting out. But yeah, honestly, within first 5, I would definitely say Ketris is better than Possessed King. Within your first 5 crafts. Within your first 10, yes. Possessed King would be your first 10. But I don't think you would put him in your first 5. Unless you already have... If you see a couple troops that you already have that you might have randomly gotten off of drops that happen to synergize with it, you can maybe go for it. But, I don't know, you would need to have the other mythics to make it work. Who's the best solo mythic for early mid-game? Infernus. It's one of the reasons why I generally say he's the best first craft. He has 12 damage per turn to all enemies, which is insanely good in early game. He bypasses Submerge, so you don't even need to worry about him not hitting it. He can technically mostly bypass Barrier, so you don't need to worry about that mechanic. He has also less people have Immune to Burn earlier on in the game because they might not even be fully traded. You have a Red Storm into your own color while having a board clear, which if I'm not mistaken, he's still the only troop in the game that has these 3 things simultaneously. A really high damage output, a board clear, and a storm into its own color. Also, nice, 1,000 glory. But I believe it's the only troop in the entire game that has that triple combo. There's some that have that triple combo, but they don't really have like a really big damage, or they might not have a really big board clear. But I believe he's the only one that has all 3 properly. Like a normal high amount of damage, a board clear, and a storm into itself. There's quite a few that have 2 of those, or like 2.5. But I don't think any of them have the full 3. Can Infernus beat Explore 12? That he cannot. Well, at least not realistically. Infernus is meant mostly for fighting content that is similar to your level. He is not really meant for upscaling. His biggest parts that you end up using him for is for PvP, just to demolish it, as well as for Guild Wars, to be able to demolish it. He does have the capability of doing lower level events, though, so he can do lower level delves. He can do lower level raids, invasions, you know, stuff like that. You know, lower level of any kind of thing like that. Tower of Doom, low level. Like, you know, like tomorrow or next week is Red Tower of Doom, so you could use him for the lower range of Red Tower of Doom. But no, he does not upscale. He's just really good for fighting things that are near your stats or just slightly above your stats. But he does not have the capability of taking on things that have much, much higher stats. He is really slow for doing that. For that, you would want something more like a Ketris the Bull, if you have Yasmin's Pride. Or even without Yasmin's Pride, there's still other ways to buff it. Like Urskea's Shield. It's not as advised, but it's, Urskea's Shield is way easier to obtain. Have they ever toyed with the idea of flipping a coin to see who goes first instead of player always going first? I'm not sure if they would ever make some kind of different mechanic for that. But yeah, the player does always have first turn advantage, which ends up making things like Guild Wars a little bit easier than it would be otherwise, as well as just most battles in general, because player always has the first turn advantage. That has always been the case the entirety of the game. I'm not sure if they're ever going to really change that. Especially since a lot of things in this game work in top left to bottom right order. And I'm not even sure if that would mess up something in their coding if they were to even try to do that. Because the game forever has been set up in a way where it just assumes the person who's doing the battle will be the person who starts with first turn. I would love to see a trait where they replace out Defend trait, which is a useless trait that gives you 3 defense when you're using a team on Defend. And instead, change that trait to you get first turn or something like that. I'm pretty sure they would never do that because that would require a lot of coding. But it'd be an interesting premise where you could set a troop on your team, and setting that troop would make it so that team would automatically get your the first turn. So that's going to probably be pretty broken if something good ever gets that trait. Like a good Mythic gets the trait of starting on first turn. That would probably be the most used Mythic in the entire game on Defend. But no, there's a good chance that for the entirety of this game's history, player who's actually playing will always have first turn. That is very unlikely to ever change. Though that wasn't the case in their past games. In their past games, like the Puzzle Quest games, first turn was determined by who had the higher cunning stat, which is basically like the agility stat in their games. So whoever had the highest agility basically went first. However, Gems of War obviously has no equivalence of that stat. And even if it did, most endgame players would probably be tied. Let's see. Take that for now. Yeah, the best way to do Explore 12 as a newer player, there's 3 main options. There's Essence of Evil spam with some damage sources. There's Rowan with Urskea's Shield. And as far as where you get these, Essence of Evil you get from 250 wins on Plague Lord class from Darkstone. Urskea's Shield you do with Urskea's Shield into Rowan. Rowan you get for free from Forest of Thorns. Urskea's Shield you get for free from Urskeia Hero class, which you get from Urska Kingdom, which you get from 250 wins on the Sentinel Hero class. And the third option was Mang. You just do Mang with Skull Spam. So you throw Mang, you get that 23 Brown Red Mastery, and then you just put a bunch of Skull Spam options behind that, get Mang really big, and then kill it within a minute. And all those are a bit slower. They do win in about a minute or so. However, they're relatively cheap teams that you'd be able to get within a few months of playing or less. In most cases, less for most of those teams. Yeah, speed would be a rather interesting stat. Or even if we got stat lines in general, other than like the normal 4 that we have for everything. I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually get that. Like a whole RPG page of stats for every single troop. Once this game needs to find a way to add even more complexity, it's like, let's just add stats for everything. Let's see, we'll move that over for now. But no, the way they did it in their past game is there was a stat per color. So every single color was a different stat. And in Puzzle Quest 1, they actually had 3 standalone stats as well. Battle, Morale, and Cunning. Battle was basically the equivalent of what Attack is in Gems of War, essentially, with a few other perks. All of them had at least a few additional perks. But Battle was basically what Attack is. Morale was basically what HP is. And then Cunning has no actual equivalency to Gems of War. But it basically determined who went first, and it helped gain more resources. Closest thing to Cunning in Gems of War is basically what your armor bonuses are. Let's see, I'll move that over. And then they also add one per color, which end up just improving that color, essentially. Also, in that game, they only had 4 colors in the first puzzle quest. First puzzle quest had 4. Second puzzle quest had 5. But there was always 7 things on the board. In first puzzle quest, it was 4 colors, skulls, EXP stars, and gold. In puzzle quest 2, it was 5 colors, skulls, and a fist thing, which I believe the asset is still used in Gems of War unless they replaced it. But I forget if they replaced it or not. I need to go double check in PvP. But it basically allowed you to use action points, which allowed you to use your wielded weapons. And then in Gems of War, they just went to 6 colors and then skull, and just made the weapon used off of mana instead. Do they still use it? Yeah, they do. They still do use a simplified version of that icon. I believe at one point they literally just used the icon in the game. They don't anymore, but they use a simplified version of it. It's the icon from Puzzle Quest 2. At one point, it was literally the exact same asset, but they have since changed it to be a different asset, but still look exactly like it. Yeah, that's the fist from Puzzle Quest 2, which were used for action points. But anyways, let's see. I probably still have a screenshot somewhere showing the exact image of it. I think they changed that about a year ago. When they, actually, I believe it might have been 2 years ago when they did the simplified graphics. Like when they changed all this background stuff. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys remember that if you guys were around. Like 2.5 years ago. They did it like November 2 years ago. But when they did that, they made a really big graphical overchange to the game. There are the same people who made Puzzle Quest? Yes. The creators of Gems of War are the same people that made Puzzle Quest. That is correct. With lead developer Steve Fonker. Yep, same developers. Or at least mostly same developers. Obviously some development team has shifted. But, yeah, same general company. What made Puzzle Quest is the same one that did Gems of War. Let's see. We'll take that down. Oh, so there's a good chance they're working on Puzzle Quest 3 and they're just not telling us. Because the Puzzle Quest 1 HD remake came out of nowhere last year. That came in, what was it? October of last year, if I'm not mistaken. It came in October. And, yeah, that was the thing. It came out of literally nowhere. And I feel like Puzzle Quest 3 is almost going to be the same thing. Where we might only know like a few weeks in advance. It's like, oh, hey, we're working on, here's Puzzle Quest 3. I really hope they are. I assume they would be at this point. Like, obviously, they're still developing Gems of War and still doing updates constantly, as they always do. But I feel like they would want to work on another game. They haven't really made another game, like a new game, since Gems of War, I don't think. I think they might have done one mobile game that completely flopped since then. But as far as like a match 3 genre game, they have not made a single match 3 genre game since Gems of War, which was made in 2014. So they haven't done one for 6 years, if you don't count Puzzle Quest HD Remake. Which they did add some amount of content too, but it was mostly just a remake, obviously not a new game. It's a great game though. It's only on Switch, the HD Remake though. At least currently. It might be brought to Steam and other locations eventually. But I think it's like a year or 2 year exclusive to Switch. Which is a original Puzzle Quest, which is actually exclusive to DS, if I'm not mistaken, when it first came out. I know, at $50 in this show, why would they bother making a new game? I know, that's the biggest issue with free-to-play these days. Like, they can just cash out free-to-play and, like, never need to make, like, an actual game. Because Puzzle Quest sells for relatively cheap. I believe even the HD remake on launch sold for only like 20 bucks, I think it was, or something. If they were to make Puzzle Quest 3, it'd probably be priced at like 30 or 40 bucks when it launches. Possibly even a bit lower, depending on how much content to do. Would really depend on what they price it at. However, if they ever were to make a Puzzle Quest 3, I feel like it would more so be to advertise Gems of War, in a way. Because oddly enough, I still find that rather weird. But when Gems of War first came out, the biggest advertisement for it was probably all the old Puzzle Quest games. And now it's probably going to be the other way around. So, like, most people initially, well, not most, but quite a few people initially found Gems of War because it was made by the same developers of Puzzle Quest and everything like that. But now it's going to be almost the other way around, where people find Puzzle Quest because of Gems of War. Let's see, we'll throw that down. The average player only plays 26 battles a day. Yeah, they did give that statistic a while back. We have to keep in mind that's also about how many battles you need to do dailies. So there's quite a few people who might just be doing dailies. That also doesn't count treasure hunt. So, and there are quite a few people that do play a decent amount of treasure hunt. As weird as it might seem to like ultra active people, there are people that play treasure hunt a lot. And some people who play almost just for treasure hunt. I've seen some games in the past where I've played almost for the mini games in it. I know there's some things in RuneScape that actually kept me in just for the mini games. Particularly the original RuneScape before it got ruined with a billion different updates. Stealing creations in the original RuneScape. I'm not sure if anyone would even remember that mini game. But that was probably my favorite game in like the entirety of the game. Like I would literally play that game just to play that game. Unfortunately, I don't think most people play it legitimately anymore. And it's only in RuneScape 3, which is really weird now. Compared to how it was when the game originally launched. But that was like a game within a game. Where I would literally just play the game within the game just to play the game. And there are things like that within some games. And some people play treasure hunt like that in Gems of War. Statistically, that number is very low. Like less than 1%. But it's some amount of people. Let's see. We'll take that down. What's even more annoying is maxing a delve in one day. Though it can be done. It just takes a lot of time on that day. Also, if you do want to go max out a faction in one day and you haven't already done the one that's currently available, keep in mind that Lazarus's Lair, excuse me, will be available again in about a month. So if you want to go max that again, it's right around the corner. Or I mean, not max it again, but you know, if you wanted to go max if you didn't do it now. If you were busy this weekend or for whatever other reason and you still wanted it max. Because it is one of the hardest factions in the game. So if you're at the point where you're starting to max factions, it's worth considering buying up the potions and doing it for next one. If you didn't do it for this one, if you just kind of skipped over it. Just because if you are getting to that point, it's the hardest one and you're going to need to do it during an event. There really isn't any way that you would do it otherwise, other than during an event. Because there's no way you're going to get this place done with how random it is without potions. This is one of the few factions that is quite literally probably impossible to do without potion effects. Though as I say that, someone will probably do it with like 100 horde with no potions at some point. Maxed it again. We are not going to max it again. We are never maxing any faction again once we max all of them once. Gotta be so glad once we finally have all the max and never need to touch them again in that regard. Will be nice. You're doing all the factions without potions? Well, go to 500, you can do without potions. Doing it pure faction is near impossible on some factions do without potions. But no, going forward on them can be done with literally all factions without potions. That you can easily do, assuming you have the troop compositions for it. What I was referring to was pure faction. But yeah, any faction can be done to 500, non-pure faction, without potions. And with 100 horde. When I say fully completed, I was referring to pure faction 500 though, which is the hardest part. Oh, you do mean pure faction? Oh. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. There are a few that you could get a little bit easier though. Like for example, Crypt and what was the other one? Crypt and Stonesong Eerie are the two easiest ones to do without potions. That doesn't mean they're easy, but they're the easiest to do with no potion effects. Because a lot of them, your stats are just so low that unless you get a ultra high amount of luck, this won't be possible. And it takes a lot of attempts. Even the two easier ones can take a lot of attempts. Yeah, there are quite a few people that have done it. I think almost every faction in the game has been done at level 100 with no potions. I'm pretty sure the most recent faction hasn't been done that way yet, though. But it hasn't been out that long, so people haven't been able to attempt it as much. But almost every faction in the game has at one point been done at level 100 pure faction. Or sorry, level 500 pure faction with a level 100 horde and no other bonus. It takes a really high amount of attempt and luck, though, to do that for any faction. And it does save a lot of gems if you do ever get it done, though. It saves, on average, around 2,500 gems, up to about 3,000 or so gems of savings, if you can ever get a pure faction completed without doing the potion effects. Because at minimum, doing it with potions, I think is like 2,110. And that's assuming you do no skip. And with no skip, you have to spend like 2,510 or 2,710 or so around there normally to get there, especially if you do no skip the entire time. Have you been to leader boards for this faction? No. Mostly because we didn't do any extra battles. We also did skip method. And if we do any amount of skip method, we definitely won't make it. But no, we're not on leaderboard for it. We're at, where are we? How far are we off? If I had to guess, we are 1 to 1.5 million off of leaderboard. Oh, gosh, it's even higher than that. If we doubled our points, we wouldn't even be on leaderboard. That's how far off leaderboard we are. Wow. Why are people going so hard on this one? I'm not sure why people are going so high. Even if you did every single battle without no skip, and then did 500 pure faction, I think you would only be at 2,300 or 2,400. And people are doing almost double that. That is insanely high. People really want those orbs, apparently. People really want orbs. Yeah, look at the top of the leaderboard. It's 29 million versus 24 million. Oh, so I've never heard of that guild yet. House of 1,000 Daggers. That one I have. Never heard of 1,000 Daggers, though. They're the only one on the leaderboard here. They apparently really wanted it. But yeah, 29 million versus a 25 million. That is absurd. It's more than 10 times more than what we have. But anyways, does anyone else have any other questions? Otherwise, we'll probably be wrapping up for now. But yeah, we'll have the Monday event video up, hopefully on Monday. No, we should. I hope to get it done tonight, actually. I'm going to pre-set up some teams and probably record it and then hopefully have it up by like 7 or 8 a.m. my time, ideally. Unless I just crash and fall asleep, in which case I should hopefully have time later today. Because I got most of the things I need to do done today, since I was already out doing stuff for taxes and everything, and the bank card. But at this point, I should be freed up to be able to get it done instantly. So that's the game plan. We'll have the video going over that. As I mentioned, yeah, Monday we have a interesting instant kill troop and the start of Tower of Doom again. For Tuesday we have Amethrax faction. For Wednesday we have a new mech pet that will give mech bonus. On Thursday we have mech in his hero class, which I don't really use too often, but is pretty decent in that it has half mana start to mechs, which can be used occasionally with, like with Tina 9000 and a few other instances. As well as if you're using that instant kill thing. You can give that instant kill thing half mana start, making it the highest 100% instant kill troop in the entire game as far as how low its mana cost is. However, the enemy's armor has to be really high. But anyways, on Thursday we get the mech class. On Friday we get another mech off of a bounty hunter. And that's everything happening next week. And also 4.8 beta started if you're in the beta program. They're going to be getting new recruits for it soon. Not this time around, though. Did you spend red deeds to Second Kingdom yet? No, because I'm low on Imperials, and I didn't want to use Imperials yet. I have a few kingdoms I could upgrade it, but we're low on Imperials. And I want to save those Imperials for purple. 3 of which we'll be using tomorrow. As soon as the event switches over, boom, we're getting that magic off of it. I'll probably even wait until we do it on the video, just so I could do it during the video itself when I do the Monday event video. Hello, John! Welcome, and goodbye. But yeah, does anyone else have any other questions before we wrap up? I always find it funny when someone says hello as soon as we're leaving. I always hate having to end the stream at that point. But we must. But anyways, any other questions, anyone? Otherwise, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, same time as always. Hour and a half prior to now tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be doing Red Tower of Doom at that point, and going through all that delving. I'm not sure if we're going to be using a different team rather than what we normally do. Obviously, one thing that we can do is the Ketris build, We have everything we need to build a double Ketris team, which is probably what I would normally use. But I don't know, maybe we'll switch it up and try something else. But Yasmin's Pride into double Ketris into a mana generator is probably the guy that converts the green to brown. I keep forgetting his name. That one dwarf that does Elfin Power. That's the normal team I would use for something like this delve. However, I'm not sure if we'll switch it up. We'll see. It's definitely one of the teams I'll be mentioning for sure, of course, for tomorrow. But not sure if we'll be using it. But I probably will, at least for the later battles anyways. But I might switch it up. Also, that instant kill troop that's coming in on Monday can be used for Tower of Doom, which is kind of interesting. Definitely need to mention at least a team or two for that, because it can upscale. It can't instant kill to Doom, though, so do be wary of that. But it can upscale, nonetheless. What Doom weapon in the shop tomorrow again? It's a red Doom weapon that creates some skulls and does some split damage. It's in that category that is rather useless. All the ones that do that are rather bad. I believe it's the last one or second to last one that we're going to be getting for that set, though. So hopefully we'll be getting some new, we'll be getting a new set of weapons soon. Yeah, I believe that was the last one. I need to go double check. It's either the last one or second to last until we get a new set of 6 Doom weapons. And hopefully that next set is as good as the previous set. But no, it's going to be a rather useless weapon. Yeah, you'd get it mostly just for completionist purposes. You would never really use the weapon. I'll obviously be getting it, but I don't really have any intention on using it, like any of the other ones that we got. The only good Doom weapons still stand at the 6 Doom weapons that convert into Doom Skulls that do full AoE. Any Doom weapon that isn't those 6 are useless, and the Doom weapon coming out is not one of those, of course. But hopefully we'll see whatever comes in a new set eventually, and hopefully it'll be good. The new ones are hammers. Oh, I didn't actually double check. Oh, yeah. I did actually double check that. Isn't it like a deal damage to a thing and then do like some amount to adjacents or something? I believe I did read forward on them. I believe they were useless. I did actually go and check that at one point. I'll need to go double check them again, but I believe they were rather useless, which is unfortunate because that means we're going a whole another half a year with basically no more good viable Doom weapons again, which is kind of weird because they made the really first ones good and then they made none of the other ones good. I don't know why they're doing it that way, but it's really weird. Like the first 6 they ever made, perfect weapons, and the rest are all horrible. It's kind of weird, but hopefully we'll eventually get good ones. But anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful week. And we'll be back soon with the event video for next week. And if you still need any faction teams, we did a video covering it. You still have several hours to go get it done if you want to, and we'll have another event of it soon if you wanted to go do it at that event if you didn't have time to do it this weekend. But still got 4 hours and 21 minutes on it. Anyways, guys, catch you guys later. Have a wonderful night. Goodbye, everyone.